Hi everyone, my name is Lauren Jerothe, and this is my presentation called Jailhouse Blues. Today we'll be talking about juvenile detention centers and how music therapy can help. Exploration and analysis is needed to determine if our juvenile detention centers are playing a positive role in the rehabilitation of our misguided youth. Music fosters a youth's individuality, promotes individual creativity, and it provides specialists with creative insight for improving and creating new rehabilitation programs. Before we begin, let's define what a juvenile detention center is. According to the National Institute of Corrections, it is the temporary and safe custody of juveniles who are accused of conduct subject to the jurisdiction of the court who require a restricted environment for their own or the community's protection while pending legal action. There are 7 characteristics of a juvenile detention center according to the NIC. The first is that it is temporary custody, it is safe custody, it is a restricted environment, it's used for community protection, used during pending legal action, includes helpful services, and clinical observation and assessment. There are 4 critical components to a juvenile detention center. The first is the use of screening to ensure appropriate use of detention. There are assessments to determine the proper level of custody, supervision, and placement of juveniles. There are policies that promote the safety, security, and well-being of juveniles and staff, as well as services that address immediate and/or acute needs in the educational, mental, physical, emotional, and social development of juveniles. Unfortunately, not all juvenile detention centers follow these 7 characteristics and 4 components. Here is a story of 2 boys who became victims of maltreatment in juvenile detention centers.
Critics disturbing pattern inside Florida juvenile detention centers. Fight clubs. Teens allegedly encouraged by guards to beat each other.
The guard told me to beat up another kid.
Andrew Ostrovsky, who was sent away for joyriding in his dad's car, tells us he didn't want to fight, so a guard retaliated.
At the end, I said, you know what, no, I'm not going to do it.
This surveillance video shows the officer toss the then scrawny 14-year-old to the ground, punching him in the face, breaking Andrew's nose in 2 places.
I still have the thoughts about it, and I still am thinking about it. I still have the visions of it. It changed me a lot.
The system went against my son.
The officer resigned after an investigation found he used more than necessary force. But some beatings go even further than broken bones. According to the investigative reports, witnesses say 17-year-old Elord Revolt died because of something called honey bunning, where an officer bribes a juvenile with a sweet treat to carry out a beatdown. In this 68 seconds caught-on video, a dozen inmates beat Elord, kicking him, stomping on him. He died 30 hours later. Prosecutors said the allegations officers instigated that attack were not corroborated by evidence, but that across the detention system, they found staff likely engaged in the practice of offering honey buns or other food as a reward to youth detainees to carry out physical attacks.
Kids were said to have a honey bun on their head or a bounty.
Carol Marvin Miller of the Miami Herald spent 2 years pouring through a decade of records and surveillance video from Florida's Department of Juvenile Justice, uncovering almost 1,500 allegations of abuse.
The turning of children into goons was occurring in every corner of Florida.
This teenager needed his kidney removed after being thrown on the ground. And here, 2 teens fight MMA style while a staffer appears to referee. We asked Governor Rick Scott about the allegations.
No abuse is acceptable. And so, the goal is constantly to hold people accountable.
Meanwhile, kids like Andrew are left to pick up the pieces.
It kind of traumatized me a little. I should have never had to go through that.
Tammy Leitner, NBC News, Miami.
NBC.
What is mental illness? It is the mental, behavioral, or emotional disorder. Mental illness has shown itself in nearly 65% of incarcerated youth, and yet only 23% of youth diagnosed with mental illnesses in these detention centers are actually treated. Overcrowding within the detention centers leads to the inability to treat inmates with mental health issues properly. Detention centers versus mental health. The prison environment may lead to or exacerbate mental health problems such as victimization by other inmates or even by prison staff, and gives access to illicit substances. People believe that a person diagnosed with mental illness is more violent than those who have not. This is 100% not true. So, what is music therapy? It is the clinical and evidence-based use of music interventions to accomplish individualized goals within a therapeutic relationship by a credentialed professional who has completed an approved music therapy program. Programs are made to promote wellness, manage stress, alleviate pain, express feelings, improve communication, and promote physical rehabilitation. Music therapy in juvenile detention centers. Genuine Voice was offered for incarcerated youth. This class taught musical composition and computer-based music sequences. The project showed the positive effect that lyric writing has on an individual's personal expression. This means improving emotional skills of these individuals means they can be better learning how to express, communicate verbally the feelings they are having, which gives them an alternative to a physical response. There are 4 types of music therapy: lyric analysis, improvisation music playing, active music listening, and songwriting. Here's a video of music therapy helping women incarcerated.
Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, lonely winter.
Sometimes exploring music, discussing song lyrics, relaxing to music helps them to get in touch with what's inside. And often to survive here, you have a lot of walls. You have a lot of emotional walls, like masks, like layers. The music kind of helps to open you up again.
Our love will never die. It's a never.
I didn't realize that there's so much talent here, that these girls can really sing, have good voices, and they want to just get out of this place for a little bit, and that helps them to just go to this great place, this fun place, this place that have so much to them, depression. So they walk around just happy after.
Take a beautiful girl and hide her away from the rest of the world. When the working day is done, oh girls, they wanna.
Everyone has their own way of dealing with things, and sometimes you don't have the words for it, and music can encompass that. You don't get a chance to express yourself when you're in prison. You're afraid to. There's stigma attached, and when you're in music, you let yourself go for a moment. You take that chance, and you don't worry about anything but feeling that moment at the time. The lyrics, you listen to them. So the other inmates around you, I think I think it lets them be free too. When we do music, you'll be surprised at how many people never say anything, but when the music comes on, they break.
We've even had like correctional staff come and join in joy of the music. It almost breaks the barriers.
And threw it in the ocean. She and Buttercup watched as the starfish plopped into the water.
This particular skit, one of the inmates said she'd love to have the show theme have something to do with going to the beach and getting away from this place.
It only takes one time, one moment to make a difference in anyone's life, even starfish.
Starfish and taffy. It happened all around the time that Prince passed away, and a lot of the women love his music. So we found a song that he had done on the Muppet Show called Starfish and Coffee, and one of the inmates helped us to rewrite the words to become Starfish and Taffy, which became the theme for the show.
Now, what's the proof that it can work? Well, in Norway, there was a 6-month program set up. The effectiveness reports were generated 1 month, 3 months, and at 6 months. Findings show that the types of music therapy that were utilized the most were structured song interplay at 100%, as well as singing songs, which was at 80%. The results showed that after 2 weeks, there was marked improvement in anxiety. Because it was only in the prison for about 3 to 6 months, the long-term effects could not be determined. What does this have to do with the youth? How will this help the youth? Studies show that although the brain structure of an individual is fully developed at birth, adolescents' brain functions are not fully developed until the age of 25. That means the rational portion of the brain has not developed, which is why many teens, when they're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, are not capable of explaining why they're feeling that way. In a project called Good Vibrations, juvenile inmates were given the opportunity to participate in a number of musical activities. In conclusion, you can see how exploration and analysis is needed to determine if our juvenile detention centers are playing a positive role in the rehabilitation of our misguided youth. We see how music fosters a youth's individuality and promotes individual creativity. Through this, it'll help provide specialists with a creative insight for improving and creating new rehabilitation programs for those in juvenile detention centers. Thank you so much. Do not tell me I just did all that just for it to not work.